Superman doesn't stand a ghost of a chance when a scary new supervillain comes to town. Her name is the Silver Banshee. She knows what she wants, and she doesn't care who she has to kill to get it. But there's more to this deadly damsel than meets the eye, as a curse going back 1,000 generations menaces Metropolis today. The Banshee's reign of terror begins in Action Comics issue 595 and chills the bone through into Superman 1987, issues 17 and 23. And trust me mate, we're gonna have a whale of a time. Whoa mate, spoilers on the cover, I haven't even read it yet. This issue opens up with a bunch of construction workers with fantastic taste in women. Who doesn't love a good goth? But being from a different generation, these men didn't know you can look, but you can't touch. Especially as physical contact with this Silver Banshee means death. But Banshee's body count doesn't stop at the catcallers. She struts into a bookshop and murders the friendly owner, seemingly for no reason, before tearing the place apart. But crime? In Metropolis? That sounds like a job for the local police force, specifically the Metahuman Crime Division, led by Captain Maggie Sawyer. Maggie and her squad take on the problems that only a city with a Superman would have. And they're pretty good at the job, because they quickly catch up to the new villain in town, attacking another bookstore. But Banshee won't come quietly, killing an officer with the gentlest touch. Conventional weapons don't affect the Banshee, but conventional armour seems to, as the man in riot gear survives her touch. And she doesn't get another chance, because Superman finally arrives to help. I thought this was saying the helmeted riot guy was secretly Superman, but this speech bubble clearly comes from away from the fella. Superman grabs the ghost girl to make sure her killer touch can't take down anyone else. But you know what they say about assuming, because it's not a touch that kills, it's a voice. The Silver Banshee's wicked whispers take their next victim. Superman himself? At the headquarters of the Giffen and Demetrius Justice League, the news breaks, and Batman, Black Canary and Martian Manhunter can't believe what they're hearing, and they swear to avenge their fallen friend. And it's not just Superman's pals who are devastated by the news. Lex Luthor is furious that someone else killed Superman, crushing his dream of being the one to defeat the Man of Steel. At Superman's public vigil, Detective Sawyer reveals that the Silver Banshee's still out there, tearing up every bookstore in Metropolis. With Superman dead and gone, who can stop this otherworldly outlaw? Well, it seems that while Superman may be dead, he's not gone after all. Superman's ghost rises from beyond and swears to defeat the Silver Banshee at last. And we catch up with the skeletal supervillain destroying yet another bookshop, screaming in rage that she can't find what she's looking for. Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen has also tracked the Banshee down, looking to stop her in memory of Superman. Banshee spots Jimmy, but before she can strike, Super Ghost arrives. And now it's the Banshee's turn to be afraid, as not even her vicious voice can kill a ghost. But that doesn't stop her from trying, unleashing the full fury of her killer vocal cords, screaming the building down, pouring everything she has into one final savage scream. And the Banshee's own power is her undoing. Silver Banshee explodes into a screech, and Jimmy's helped up by Superman? The Super Ghost was actually the Martian Manhunter in disguise. Explaining the transparency, the phasing, and the speech pattern, I noticed that the Ghost Superman didn't read like Superman usually does. That was a nice touch from the writer. Back at the Daily Planet, John Jones explains that the Banshee's brain couldn't let a power kill someone who was already dead, so he played the part of Superman's ghost after releasing the real deal from his Banshee-induced coma. Jimmy also theorizes that the Banshee had been looking for books recently imported to Metropolis from a castle in Ireland, but that doesn't really matter now that she's dead. Or is she? because over in Superman issue 17, set a few weeks later, the metahuman crime unit finds Silver Banshee's calling card, a skeleton in a bookstore. And sure enough, somehow, the Banshee lives again. We get some insight on the Banshee's curse when she reveals she cannot sleep, and maybe that's why she's attacking bookshops. Reading normally sends me right off. But it won't be warm milk the Banshee spills on the streets of Metropolis this night. The Silver Banshee is at it again, scouring bookstores for something special as Clark Kent and Jimmy Olsen catch her in the act. I used to think Jimmy Olsen was meant to be this annoying kid always getting into trouble so Superman has to save him, but now I see he's more like a hot-headed partner to Superman, like Robin is to Batman, and the kid's got guts, because he's all too willing to take on Banshee himself. Meanwhile, at the airport, this absolute weapon of a man has come to Metropolis with a job to do. More on him later. Clark and Jimmy get the jump on Banshee, and Clark makes himself a target to keep her attention off the incoming police. But even so, one overzealous officer heeds the call of the Banshee. With the body count already too high, and with Captain Sawyer and a squad outmatched, only one hero can save the day. The Batman. The Hammer of Justice is unisex as the Dark Knight battles the Banshee, but behind the Cape Crusader, Jimmy gets taken out by a huge hand. Banshee gets physical and lashes out at Gotham's Guardian, and the truth is revealed. Superman had disguised himself as the Batman to throw Banshee off, hoping her confusion would block her powers, a tactic now useless. Her mental block on murder is lifted, but before the Banshee can scream, she's interrupted by the giant from earlier. This man, Bevan, orders Banshee, apparently named Siobhan, to stand down and stop dishonouring their clan, McDougal. Bevan, the Banshee's brother, demands that she pay for disgracing their family name. He warns Superman and the police that this is a family matter, but before he can apprehend his sister, she escapes in a flash of sound and fury. So there's more to Silver Banshee than we could have ever imagined. An ancient Irish clan, a ritual turned curse. So far she's well more interesting than your usual supervillain. Right now we've got more questions than answers, so let's follow Superman into one last hair-raising adventure, and perhaps finally uncover the secret origins of the Silver Banshee. Unlike last issue, this Dark Knight isn't wearing hockey pads. The real Batman appears at Clark's apartment with a discovery. He's found what the Silver Banshee's been killing to find, an ancient supernatural book. A book that details the history of an ancient family, which involves the Banshee herself. The book even includes the battles with Superman, and even this very meeting between the world's finest. It seems this book writes itself, and it's not yet done telling its scary story. At Castle Broen, I think that's how it's pronounced, ancestral home of the McDougal clan, Banshee's brother Bevan gets a telling off from his uncle Seamus, disappointed that Siobhan escaped their justice. The McDougal clan aren't the only ones interested in the Banshee though, as Lois and Jimmy, on assignment, come calling. The Planet reporters try and get some info out of the McDougals, but all they get is trouble when the old man pulls a gun on them. Streaking through the sky on his way to the castle, Superman gets assaulted by the Silver Banshee, showing off a lot more power than she ever did before. She demands the book, but Superman stands defiant. How cool's this bit? He tells McDougal's spooky sister that she will answer for her crimes, and for now the weather dies down, but Superman knows that this was nothing compared to the storm that's coming when he's once again face to face with the Silver Banshee. The ancient book warns Superman that his friends are in danger beneath McDougal Castle, and Clan McDougal make the rules here, as they always have. Their bloodline remaining powerful through ancient magic. Finally, Uncle Seamus sheds light on the Banshee. Usually the firstborn sons are chosen to carry on their age-old power, but the family's newest generation was led by a girl, Siobhan. Her adventures in the outside world gave her ideas that clashed with the clan's rigid old ways, and upon being denied her birthright, Siobhan performed the ritual of power herself. Possessed by the ancient spirits, Siobhan became the Silver Banshee. And now, she strikes. The castle begins to crumble as Banshee appears, powered up by the magic book's proximity as Superman gets closer and closer. Banshee's uncle cowers as she demands he confess his sins, denying her leadership of the clan and stealing her father's books to put the son, Bevan, in charge as a proxy for Seamus to continue to lead. It looks like Banshee will get a revenge. But here comes Superman. The book's magic protects Superman from Banshee's scream, but a surprise attack from Bevan cuts the Man of Steel deep. With villains on all sides, Superman prioritises his friends first. He demands that Lois and Jimmy escape as he finally puts the nightmare of the McDougals to rest. A task easier said than done. Banshee gets a good shot in, but her focus is on retrieving the tome. And, as it turns out, she is not after the power that resides within the book. She wants the book to finally be free of a curse. And after reading the tome, it's a story Superman knows well. Siobhan was set up to fail by her brother and uncle, cast down to the underworld, where an ancient witch granted her power on the condition that she find the book. Superman does feel sympathy for the Silver Banshee, but what he can't forgive is the innocent lives she took in search of the tome. And neither can the ancient witch who turned Siobhan into the Banshee in the first place. Siobhan's time is up. The whole thing was a test of character for Siobhan McDougal, to see how she would act in hunting the ancient book. By way of murder and violence, she's proven to be as bloodthirsty as her ancestors. Superman calls out the witch's part in this, but she's not bothered by the Man of Steel's accusations. But she does give him a warning. And, as Clan McDougal is swallowed by the mysterious spirit, the curse of the Silver Banshee dies quietly. What a fantastic story this was. I knew nothing about the Silver Banshee going into this, but I thought she was like an evil black canary with goth makeup. But her whole backstory was boss. I really liked the slow burn of not knowing what she was even after until 2 issues in. She never stopped to explain anything to Superman, and that gave her a proper sense of crazy urgency. All we knew was that she wanted something, and that she was so obsessed with finding it that she didn't care who she had to kill. The twist of Banshee being a victim, and then still having to pay for her crimes, was great as well. Her being betrayed by her family wasn't the fault of those she killed. Taking Superman out of America was a nice change too. Seeing him fighting in a castle was boss, and it reminded me of his Elseworld counterpart Cal, rest in peace. Something small that stood out to me was this. Look how cute this red-headed policewoman is. More of her, please. Cool guest appearances as well. Martian Manhunter is great, especially in that Justice League run. And Batman's always cool to see. Another thing that I loved was that Banshee didn't need kryptonite or super strength to be a threat. In my mind, only idiots fistfight Superman. Bad guys should have a unique way to damage the Man of Steel, and a deathly voice is a cool creative one. There's just something about spooky themed supervillains I just love. They're always so cool. The more Superman I read, the more I kick myself for taking so long to read them. If you know any other cool bad guys I should check out, please let me know.